Shed Podcast with Nick Beveridge and Jeremy Kitchen. They're on the path to financial freedom, and they're taking their community with them. Stay tuned for the best free real estate investing advice on the internet.
Well, welcome back to the Investor Shed Podcast. I am Nick Beveridge here with my co-host, Jeremy Kitchen. Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. How are we doing today?
We're feeling pretty damn good. You know why?
Why is that?
Because we're stimulated.
Oh, we are so stimulated today. We had coffee. Wink, 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 wink,
wink, wink.
Today we are talking about investing through uncertain times. Uncertainty, if you will.
Oh, mash. Well, cry me a river, won't you? I just have so many excuses why I can't invest in real estate. Why don't we dig into them, huh?
Yeah, why don't we talk about those excuses, and why don't we see if we can kind of break some ground on those?
Maybe we'll talk about Tom Hanks, too, later.
Maybe, if you're lucky. I don't know. We haven't recorded the episode yet.
Nope. We definitely don't talk about Tom Hanks for 13 minutes.
It was like 11 minutes. Relax. But people like Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks brings in content, so it's perfect.
Okay, great.
No, we're going to be talking about investing through uncertainty. Nick and I kind of give a couple different ways on how we would imagine you should be looking at uncertainty and, you know, what things you can and cannot be certain about. Really good episode, actually. So,
You know what people can be certain about?
what's that?
Getting good diet advice.
Ooh, they can get good diet advice here. So this is the show where you get good investing and diet advice. What kind of food should people be indulging in this episode?
Putting it on me now.
Hey, man, you're the guy who makes up banana burgers on the spot. So
Okay.
I'm like,
you want
what do
another
got?
burger idea?
Okay, yeah.
You take a ribeye steak.
Okay.
You put it between the buns. Don't forget the Swiss cheese.
Okay.
And you have a ribeye burger.
A ribeye burger.
You get to eat it with your hands.
I love that.
No knife. No fork.
I love that.
Use the bun.
I love that.
Don't
Can
forget
we-
the cheese.
Can we take it another step further and do like a ribeye burrito wrap?
Yes.
Just and a tortilla.
Oh, who hasn't done that?
Yeah. Me.
All right, guys, you're going to enjoy this episode. I guarantee it.
He does.
And welcome back to the Investor Shed Podcast. My name is Nick Beveridge, here with my co-host, the man of the hour, Jeremy Kitchen.
I think we're both the men of the hour here.
What?
Well, there's two of us in here, and we're both men. Allegedly, I haven't seen your bits, but you know, from all I know about you, you're a dude.
Well, if you've seen that, then I'm the person of the hour.
You're the person. you're the they them of the. Are we doing that about time too? So like, what pronouns are time?
Oh gosh, his
It's Anyway, welcome to the Investor Shed Podcast. We are so thrilled to have you here again with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a really cool episode today. We're going to talk about uncertainty through investing.
Yeah, uncertain times. I would say I would categorize lately when it comes to investing in real estate, we're kind of in uncertain times, aren't we?
Yeah, this is what we call uncharted territory.
This is what investors that like to procrastinate love. They love a good excuse, don't they?
Any reason to give a good excuse, like, oh, something's going on in the world, I don't have to do a thing. Tell me more.
I know I should be investing, but man, things are so uncertain right now. It's an election year.
Yeah.
The debates are awesome, but
Okay, so I'm gonna try to keep this as like politically neutral as I can.
Yeah, of course.
I will say that like I was putting my daughter to bed the other night, and I don't know why I did it, but I turned on the debate.
uh-huh.
And it was probably 5 or 6 minutes. As soon as I was done, I was like, I don't know why I did that.
Wow. Yeah. And how did you feel about yourself afterwards?
Okay, I didn't feel good about the situation out there, but I felt good about myself. Like, and that's just the spot.
Like you could be president.
No.
That's how I felt.
That's on such like, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It was very weird. I turned on and they were both just like shitting all over each other to be. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, this
But
is.
you listened to 6 minutes of it?
Yeah.
And called it good?
I didn't really learn anything. They
Yeah.
were just like, your son does drugs. Well, you had sex with a porn star. I'm like, okay, this is great.
Okay.
Anyway,
what are you guys doing
neutral.
for the country? We're not talking about that right
We're
now.
talking about our golf game, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Well, uncertain times, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to invest in real estate when interest rates are this high, times are this uncertain? What? Why even bother? Why not just see how things play out?
It's funny hearing it come from you because I know that's not how you really think. But let's dive into that a little bit. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to give up all your control and power to everybody else, giving excuses is the best way to do it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely. I mean, relinquishing control on what you can and cannot control and just, throwing it into the void because of situations happening in the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the best way to not progress in your life is to constantly give excuses about why you can't do something.
Right. Exactly. And everybody's financial situation is going to be different, of course. And just because you're not investing in real estate, I want you to know, like, you're not doing anything wrong. That just could be not what your goals are right now.
Of course. But if you're listening to this channel, you probably have an interest.
You probably have an interest, correct. But I mean, like, it doesn't need to be always. Like, I'm not always investing in real estate.
Okay. Are you sure? You making your mortgage payment every month?
Okay. I'm not constantly chasing new deals to invest in. Yeah. But you are right. There's absolutely that happening. But, like, again, we've talked about this on previous episodes, Nick. Like, my goals in the short term have shifted a little bit, and that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Like,
and remind everybody, what have your goals been lately?
Lately, like, I've been as hands-on in Ginger Snap Media as I possibly can be. It has been a freaking wild year.
What you're doing, you're making hay while the sun is shining.
Yes, correct.
And you're making more income right now in your business than what you could make if you focused on real estate investing.
I would agree with that, yes.
Which I agree. Why not?
Right.
I mean, you're out there hustling. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and like I'm on the verge of a really cool breakthrough that feels really great. So with my own personal goals, like I got fed up with personal consumer credit card debt.
Tell us about that. At my let.
And what you just said there was so great. No, I'm on this journey to just like kick ass and eliminate all of my personal consumer debt. Obviously, my mortgage is something that I'm not really worried about. That's on autopilot. I've got less than $4,000 of consumer debt left in my name.
That's not much.
I know.
You can knock that out in a month.
Now, here's the thing. Like, I've been grinding and grinding and grinding. Like, a lot of my money's going into other places right now.
Yeah.
I have...
Yeah, you're still investing.
All of that money, I could pay off it all like that.
Okay.
The money's in the account. But that's not where, like, I'm still trying to grow and reduce at the same time.
Yeah. Now, and this all comes down to math, too.
Right.
Like, the amount of money that you owe on your credit cards, can you get a better return if you don't pay them off? And you go and make these, whatever you're doing.
Yep.
Whatever kind of mini dragons or baby dragons that you're trying to feed.
Exactly. And I think we talked about it on previous episodes as well. Like, I'm focused on what I'm thinking of, like a slingshot method. So I'm pulling back everything I can so I can shoot forward even faster and further. And it feels really cool. I've been making a lot of really good headway on that. Obviously, I'm still looking at deals. Like, if a deal comes my way that makes sense, it's a yes.
Yeah.
A lot of things that have came my way are babies.
Yeah.
Even, like, we invested in a little deal lately, and like that was a maybe until you joined, and then it was a yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and you say you're pulling back, but you invested still.
Right.
Like, it's uncertain times. You still put your money in a deal. I mean, I think at the beginning of this episode, you kind of open it up with, like, you haven't been, but
Sure.
you're still doing it.
I guess you're right.
On a baby scale.
On a baby scale, yeah.
Yeah.
Doing little things that make sense. Like, I want to obviously always do this, but, like, I'm getting my financials straight, and that feels really cool to do as an adult.
Oh, yeah, it does. Man, it feels so good.
Yeah.
That's all I've been focusing on this year, is just getting my shit in order, get my finances straight. Because you can grow a massive business and you can make a shit ton of money and your finances could be complete garbage.
Yeah.
I've been there.
I was like, you're an example of that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it feels good. I mean, this year I've been just straight up organizing, but I haven't like cut out investments completely. Like,
Sure.
I just bought a house.
You did, yeah. Sub 2.
Yeah. Well, no, not sub 2.
Seller Fi.
Seller finance.
Okay.
Actually, it was a contract for deed.
Oh,
It's a form of seller finance. Should we talk? Should we tell them? Should we
let's talk about
this deal?
that. I don't know what a contract for deed is. Like, tell me about that.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Oh, maybe you weren't paying attention during our creative financing episodes,
Probably not.
but we went over contract for deed.
Nick, we talk a lot of things on a lot of episodes. I don't remember everything. I apologize.
All right, for those who want a bigger, in-depth discussion about contract for deed, we're about to talk about it. But we did a whole series of creative financing over 2 videos. earlier in season 3.
Yep.
So if you search on YouTube, Creative Finance Investorship Podcast, you'll see 2 videos.
We're not going to put it in the show notes.
A lot of great feedback. No, we're not, because that would take time.
That takes time. We're not going to do that for you.
Better use my time.
Just go listen to it.
Anyway, I just bought this house. Bought this house in Hayden, Idaho. Pretty nice area.
Yeah.
Centrally located in this little community called Grouse Meadows.
Okay.
Had a kind of a history of being kind of a dirty little community there.
Dirty girl.
But recently, been cleaned up the last few years. Nice. Like they weren't really taking care of like their common areas, and you can tell it was just kind of getting a little rundown.
Yeah.
Homes built in the 90s.
Okay.
But good location. Last few, the run up of this last real estate, people put some effort in that community. The HOA got on, common areas or whatever they did.
How close is it to Hayden Lake?
Hayden Lake?
Yeah.
Oh, 5 minutes?
5 minutes?
Yeah.
If you were cartwheeling, like 5 minutes of straight cartwheeling or driving?
13 minutes of cartwheeling, 5 minutes of carpooling.
How long to somersault, though, right?
Oh, cut that down to 11 minutes
Yeah.
if you're somersaulting.
Nick's done the math already.
Yeah.
I just want to, I'm sorry to derail it, but I wanted
okay.
I wanted to cartwheel to the lake. That sounds fun.
Focusing too much on the community, but it's important. If you're buying a house, you should really consider all these factors. Consider not just the city, but also the community that you're investing in, because there could be great cities that have shitty little pockets, and you got to be careful. Because I bought this as a long-term rental. It's not a fix and flip. It's not a burr. It's kind of I'm fixing it up.
Sure.
Slightly. But here's what it is. It was a house that was a rental for the last 18 years. And these tenants have been paying about $700 a month for the last 18 years. I think they got it bumped up the last year to $800, and that was too much for them.
Okay. This
house should be renting for in the mid 2000s,
right.
2,500 or so.
Yeah, Hayden's a pretty good area that has pretty stable rents for sure. So
but this deal was presented not to me directly, but a seller got in touch with me via text, and she said, "Hey, I've got this rental I'm going to sell. I'm willing to do seller financing over 30 years. You bring me a buyer, I'll pay you $5,000. I need them to have 20 grand down." And I was just instantly I'm like, man, I do have some buyers for this, but I mean, put your oxygen mask on yourself,
right? You're right.
before you can help others. That's kind of, unfortunately, that's if you're a real estate investor and you get these creamy deals that just throw up in your face like a baby spitting up, and you just want it.
Only you want it. The baby spit up is like ice cream or something.
You have time for it. No, I don't have time for every deal that comes across my plate, but it was perfect timing. I had time for this one.
Right. And the cool thing about that deal, obviously, yes, I remember the deal and everything, but for $20,000 down to get a contract for deed or a seller financing deal is a pretty damn good deal
on a $440,000 house. Yes, it is.
Yeah, not too shabby. And I know you're going to be cash flow neutral on that for the first couple of years. But still, a $20,000 or in your case a $15,000 entry fee. Yeah, to get into a house where you didn't have to get bank approval.
She was going to pay me $5,000. Yep. So she still honored that by just discounting that that down. So she took that off the price and the down payment.
There's not a lot of houses you can get into that are basically move-in ready.
Yep.
For $15,000.
Oh, not much. The cool thing about this too is it was a contract for deed. No credit. She didn't pull my credit.
Right.
What she asked for was $500 from via Venmo to lock it up.
Okay.
And then she had her attorney draft up the same document that she's been using since 1992.
Okay.
Because she's done this many times. And it's I'm not, the title's not in my name. It's still the deed. You're buying a contract for deed. Once the contract's paid off, you get the deed.
Okay.
But you have all the same benefits.
Right.
As an owner.
So you get depreciation.
Get the depreciation. Yes. The IRS sees the contract for deed as a purchase, and you get the tax benefits, you get the depreciation. So yeah, not much of a difference. The only difference is that it's a streamlined process to foreclose on me.
Sure. Okay.
If I don't make payments.
Right.
But I'm not. it's not like, oh shoot, I forgot to make this month's payment, the house is gone.
Right.
You know, it's not like that. I mean, there's still protections in place, like, you know, after 45 days, if I haven't made a payment, you know, it's over 45 days, they have to send a certified letter, and it takes up to like 3 months or so for them to try to get a hold of me to get caught up,
right?
Or else they can void the contract that is recorded with the county. So this is also a recorded document too.
Nice. Okay.
So you get all the same benefits, just the seller has better protection.
Sure.
Where they're not giving up the deed as well, and they'll still have a, you know, traditional seller financing. They sold the property's gone. Now they just have a lien against the property that's recorded.
Gotcha.
With contract for deed, it's kind of reversed where I have a lien on the property, in a sense. You know, I have a recorded contract with the property, and the seller still has it in their name, kind of like a car loan.
Sure. Okay.
So if you go get a car loan, you don't get the title right away.
You get it when you pay off the car.
You get it when you pay off the car. But you have all the same benefits.
Right.
When you have a car, you get to drive the car. You can sell it at any time. You can put a muffler on it.
Yeah, you can detail it or change the paint color all you want.
Yeah. Wow. You just have a loan against it.
Yeah.
So it works the same way.
Okay.
Real estate's kind of different when you typically get a loan from a bank, where the bank just has a recorded lien against it, but you actually own the property.
Sure.
Until it's paid off.
Right. Right.
So contract for deed, it's just kind of flipped. It's just a little bit less risky for the seller. They don't have to go through the mountain of paperwork in courts to foreclose on the property.
Sure.
And as they would if they did a deed transfer from the start.
Gotcha.
So other than that, the terms were 30 years, and the interest rate was 5%.
Not bad.
So it's going to make this property cash flow.
Right. And let's go back a little bit. Obviously, like, this episode is all about investing through uncertain times. And if you've been a listener of the show, like, you kind of know what our goals are for the year and what we're trying to accomplish. Like, Nick's goal earlier this year was like, don't buy anything.
Yeah. Right. Or at least don't get into any big renovation projects.
Right. But like, when a deal like this comes across your plate, like, it would have been stupid for you to say no.
Well, not necessarily.
No.
I mean, because this is, you know, it's not going to make me money right away.
Right.
But I know it's a good decision long term.
Sure.
For me. Because I know about how much money I'm going to make selling real estate in commissions, and I know how much this property will save me in my tax liability.
Right. Okay.
So that's what made it a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
Because of my situation. Everybody's situation is different. Not everybody's a real estate professional that needs all these extra tax benefits to help drive down their other income.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Isn't it weird being a business owner? Like, you're like, man, I've got a huge tax liability this year. Maybe I should buy some stuff.
Yeah. And I've given bad advice out there in the past, not really fully realizing that not everybody's a real estate professional out there who invests in real estate. You got to put like 750 plus hours a year into this, or your spouse does. And there's other qualifications that go along with that. If you're a real estate agent and you're a real estate agent full time, it's pretty black and white. You qualify.
Sure.
If you're a property manager, you should qualify.
Right.
If you're a general contractor, you actually qualify.
Interesting.
For the most part.
Okay.
But other types of contractors don't. So there's a lot that goes into that we can get into in other episodes.
Sure.
Anyway, bought this property that was actually in really good shape. It was tenant occupied for 18 years.
Okay. Yep.
But when I walked in, you could tell it was an older couple. That were the type of people that meticulously take care of their stuff.
Nice.
Even if it's not theirs.
And these are the tenants you're talking about.
The tenants.
Okay.
Yeah. They were meticulous about the yard and the sprinkler system and the flooring that they installed, and just everything was clean and easy. You know, they weren't like your typical, when you're buying a discounted property, typically you walk into like a house that smells like cat piss.
Yep.
And there's boxes stacked high, and there's probably shit in the corner.
Yeah.
And there's probably mold everywhere.
There's feces in the toilet because they don't ever flush it for some reason.
This was not one of those properties. This is not what I was used to buying.
Right.
What made it, you know, my annual goal was to buy something that needed very little work.
Sure. And I love that.
And this was one of those, you know. So for the last couple of weeks, all I've been doing is just, you know, casually going over there, changing out light fixtures.
Cool.
We're changing out the countertops. I got an interior paint job done. Nice. I hired that out.
Good job.
Replacing some carpet in a couple of bedrooms. I'm spending about, my goal is to spend about 10 grand.
Sure. Okay.
And then now I decided I'm going to paint the outside too. Okay. Because it's just a good time of year to do that.
It is.
Probably spending more like 13,500.
Sure.
In addition to that 15,000 that I put down. So I'm going to be
28
all in under 30 grand. But making all these extra improvements should bump up the rent enough to cash flow now, because it wasn't going to necessarily cash flow.
Right.
Now it should.
That's awesome. Now, are there, did the tenants, did they already leave?
Yeah, they left a couple weeks ago.
Okay, cool. So you've just been inside, obviously getting the work done in the house and everything. That's really cool.
Yep. Yeah. In one day on Father's Day, that's all I wanted for Father's Day was my family to come help me demo.
Nice.
So we spent the day ripping out blinds and countertops and carpet, light fixtures, all kinds of stuff. And we had it ready in one day for the painter to come in the next day.
That's awesome.
And then the painter was supposed to get it done in 4 days. He didn't. It's been a couple weeks. He's almost done. I think he's finished yesterday.
Sure.
So that happens sometimes,
but
it wasn't a huge mishap because I was also getting the countertops replaced, and that takes a little bit of time too.
Sure. So you had a little bit of a grace period there.
Yeah.
Do you ever do the thing with contractors? I think we've talked about it before, but do you ever incentivize them if they get the job done early?
I've tried that in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if you put your money where your mouth is and you get this done in 4 days, I'll throw you an extra $500 or whatever.
Yeah. I've tried that in the past. Didn't seem to really work.
Really? Okay.
Not for me anyway.
Sure.
And I'd rather just work with people that I know, like, and trust. And if they have a good excuse, I'm fine with it. As long as it's like not going to really hold me up. I don't know if it would be worth the extra $500.
Sure. Okay.
You know, because it wouldn't matter if it did take an extra week or so. I'm still waiting for countertops.
Sure. And in that case, that makes sense. But a lot of times, like, time is money and flips, as you obviously know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If you can save somebody a month and it costs you $500, great.
Yeah, a full month.
Yeah,
that's a different story. If you're dealing with a general contractor and they're dealing with the whole renovation and they say, hey, we'll have it done in 5 weeks, and you can come back and be like, hey, if you really get it done in 5 weeks, I'm going to pay you $3,000 extra as a bonus. Can you agree to that?
Yeah. Is that something you?
And if you don't, would you take $1,000 off your bid?
Yeah.
If it goes over 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe that is a good idea.
Yeah. That makes sense. Not just for like a regular painter coming in. I think that's really great. And again, it's one of those opportunities where you weren't really looking, but since you're in this industry, it found you.
Yeah, it found me. The money, things will come when you're ready, I feel like. But you also got to always be hunting and willing to jump up on opportunities,
right?
Make offers. I tried to buy this house in Plummer for the last like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I even had inspections done, and I ended up, I still didn't get it, but I made so many offers. I followed up with this lady probably 47 times.
Sure.
And it was a foreclosure situation. Almost got a really good deal on it. She ended up selling it to somebody else for a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you still, if you're an active real estate investor, you've got to be putting in the work. You got to be constantly following up with good leads.
Yep.
Things don't always just fall in your lap.
Right.
Yep. But I get on the phone a lot more than people think.
Well, also, I mean, like, it fell into your lap because you're constantly doing these things, right? Like, I mean, like, that happened to just fall into your lap because of all the work you've done.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, so it's not like I'm not discounting the work you've done at all. I think, like, what you've heard the saying before, like, what you focus on expands.
Yeah.
And once you're in this business, like, deals just kind of zoom past you when you're doing deals.
Yeah. But to stay on the topic of uncertain times, like investing in uncertain times. Now, I bought that house in Hayden. Seller financing 5% over 30 years. Doesn't matter what's going on today. I really don't think so. I didn't have to rely on an interest rate to make the cash flow make sense. That we're able to bypass what's going on in the market. I know that there's enough rental demand for a third car garage in Kootenai County to want that house. Because that's another thing about this house that made it interesting to me, was that it was just small and easy enough. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a third car garage and RV parking and centrally located. I know that kind of house attracts a lot of people.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's what made that make sense to me in uncertain times. You just kind of stack all these extra things that make you feel more comfortable.
Right. And on a base level, Nick, like I agree with you 100%. Like if you're trying to invest in uncertain times, I honestly think the best thing you can do is buy real estate.
Yeah, I mean, what else? What's the alternative?
Well, like what you're saying, like you've locked yourself in a 5% interest rate for 30 years. That means no matter what happens in the world for the next 30 years, you are set at 5%.
Yeah. And somebody out there might be thinking to themselves, I can't believe you got a deal like that. Who in their right mind would even offer that? Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what, if she just put it on the MLS, she could have sold it, for about 15 grand more.
Sure.
But she would have had to pay for a commission.
Mm-hmm.
Also, she would have only gotten about, 430 grand, something like that net. By her selling it to me over 30 years, she didn't need the money right now. She wanted to set up this payments, this income source for her daughter to inherit.
Yeah.
And by doing that one time, if I make minimum payments for 30 years, I'm paying her over $800,000 for that property.
Yeah.
Like it was not a dumb move on her part.
Not at all.
And she wasn't if she put this together and she wanted 7% interest rate, but she also wanted the income long term too. Think about this. What if interest rates go down to 5%?
Yeah.
What if I just refi? What if I just refi and then her loan's done?
Yep.
And then she only sold the house for 4 or something, and she only got payments for a couple of years, and then she didn't get the kind of returns that she wanted. I think she was very smart in just offering a couple points lower, but it's 30 years.
Yeah.
She basically I think she was smart in what she did.
I agree with you.
She sold the house for over 800 grand to me if I make minimum payments over 30 years.
Now, here's the cool thing about this too. Obviously, like you said, like I don't know this lady, but she sounds like she's pretty smart.
Yeah.
She's trying to get this set up for an inheritance for her daughter. Basically, what she's done is she's more than doubled what her inheritance would be if she just sold the house on market. And let me explain that a little bit, obviously.
Yeah, go ahead.
With a $430,000 sale on a house, how much of that is capital gains?
Oh, almost all of it. She bought it for 92 grand.
Okay, she bought it for 92
back
grand.
in 20 years ago or whatever.
She didn't live in it for the last 2 out of the 5 years, so she doesn't get the homeowner sale exemption clause.
No,
right?
She's at risk for a bunch of taxes.
Right, so she's at risk for almost $300 of it would be long-term capital gain, still taxed at like
$300,000.
Yeah, still taxed at your almost ordinary income rate at that point at like 22%.
Yeah.
So
and over the last, if you add up what's like 750. Do you have your calculator out?
I got my phone. I don't do head numbers.
Yeah. So she had this below market rent, for like 18 years. But I know she had it for like 20 years.
Right.
She bought it for like 92 grand.
Okay.
But take $750, multiply that by 20. Oh, sorry. And multiply it by 12 and then multiply it by 20.
750 times 12, so that's going to be your yearly. So
$9 grand a year
times 20.
180
grand.
She already doubled her money before she sold it to me.
Yeah. Not bad.
Jeremy, she's not a dumb woman.
She bought it for 90. She doubled her money by having a renter in there at very low rent markets.
And you know what she did? She picked the right tenants because they were doing all the renovation. She knew that she was giving them a low rent. And in exchange, I didn't talk about this, but her tenants took care of everything.
Yeah.
Any kind of maintenance issues with the house, they took care of it. They funded it. They knew they were getting a good deal. They've replaced the countertops over time. They've replaced the flooring over time. So they took care of all the maintenance too.
Yeah.
She was just bringing in that cash, bro.
And what a wild concept. Like, when you look at the big picture of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Buy a house for $92,000, put a renter in there. I mean, at the time, I'm sure like her rents were covering her mortgage because she wasn't doing.
She paid cash.
She paid cash. Okay, so it was a flat out cash purchase for the house.
Yeah. Yep.
Even better.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Talk about putting your money to work.
Yeah. You put your money to work. You doubled it. Now you're going to quadruple that.
Yeah. And she had to do nothing to that house. All she did was buy it. She moved money around. She didn't go fix up anything. She wasn't like me, changing out light fixtures.
That girl's like a hero. That's the dream right there.
Yeah. And you know what's awesome? After this, she said, I'd love to work with you on another deal. And I'm like, I just came, lady,
You,
in my pants. Thank you.
you didn't tell her no?
No, I didn't say it was an email, but
Yeah.
I sent her a dick pic. No, I'm just kidding.
It wasn't his, but he sent one. I just found
I'm
one off the
joking.
internet.
Gosh.
No, that's great. Like you said, like this lady, she has her ducks in a row.
Yeah.
She knows what she wants. She knows how to get it. And like she gave you a good deal while still getting a good deal. That's good business.
Yeah, exactly. She knows what she's doing. Mm-hmm. She's making good returns. Mm-hmm. For the people that out there that want to max, their income all the time, mm-hmm. they're going to be in it for the short term.
Right.
Because once their customer finds something better, they're going to refi or move out.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. Like if you want to max your income, reduce your liability on this stuff. Like you said, like she just paid cash. So there's no mortgage. She didn't owe anybody anything. All money coming in was just straight gimmies.
Gimme.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
So anyway, that's the most recent house I just purchased.
Okay.
Uncertain times, but you know what? What I am certain of is that I'm probably going to have a lot of tax liabilities in the future, and I know that house is going to help out. Sure. And what I am certain of is that people in North Idaho love extra space.
They do.
They love that third car garage. They love RV parking.
They do.
And there's not enough rentals out there to compete right now. There's a bunch of apartments being built and stuff like that, but not a whole lot of here's where you can put all your seasons of stuff.
Right.
Can
I ask a question about depreciation on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously she bought the house in 1992, right?
Yeah.
When you take over...
No. She bought it for $92,000.
$92,000. Okay.
She bought it about 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Okay. 24...
Like in the early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Okay. Got it. I guess my question to you is, does depreciation start for you the day you buy it? So do you get to depreciate it over 27 and a half years?
That's correct.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not like when it starts, when the house is built, it's when you buy it.
Yeah, I technically bought it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Even though title hasn't changed.
Right.
But the IRS sees, according to what I've read on the internet, the
That's
IRS...
a good source.
and I've backed it up with AI. Because I wanted two sources.
Yeah.
And AI looks too for me.
God forbid going to an actual attorney.
Fuck that. They don't know. Well, how often do attorneys deal with contract for deed?
Depends on what
they're going to look up. They're going to look it up too.
A paternity attorney probably doesn't look at them very often. A real estate one, maybe.
Well, yeah.
No, but and again, this all ties into, investing through uncertain times. I'm going to split it in half for you guys, right? So like you got this lady who sold you the house.
Yeah.
Times are probably uncertain for her and her daughters. What she wanted was an inheritance for her daughter.
Yeah.
She set up certainty.
Yeah.
What you wanted was financial certainty and, be able to get your tax liabilities decreased.
I wanted a fairly certain good investment.
Right.
And
on paper, like it's good.
Yeah. Because what was I investing?
Right.
Like $25,000
Yeah.
ish. Ended up spending a little bit more. Mm-hmm. That's my investment.
Right.
Is this a solid investment over time? Is it going to make sense to have a house in Hayden?
Right.
That was built in the 90s. It's going to be in good shape for a while, and I'm refreshing it right now.
Yeah.
In my mind, yeah. I feel like, in 10 years, it's probably going to be worth more than $450.
I would agree with you.
A year or two from now, I don't know. It doesn't matter. What if it's only worth $350,000?
Sure.
Because the economy just tanks and there's all this oversupply of real estate. Doubt it. But if that happens, why does it matter? I don't need to sell it.
Right.
I have this payment that locked in for 30 years.
So it's amortized and everything on 30 years. So you're paying interest and principal, right?
Principal and interest. It's
Taxes,
amortized.
yeah. Okay.
Yep. So I pay taxes and insurance separately.
Okay.
But the interest and the principal payments I pay to a third party escrow company.
Escrow. Yeah. Okay.
In Blackfoot.
Cool.
In Blackfoot, Idaho.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's all done legit. Mm-hmm. And I bought that property with one of my LLCs that owns that my Wyoming LLC owns.
Okay.
And then my trust owns that, and we've talked about that before.
Asset
but
protection.
It was like a good experience of hey, I'm getting to actually finally use my good assets, good asset management tactic, my trifecta, and I get to start off with this one. Even though my other properties, I'll be able to like move them around.
Sure.
But this one, it got to start off on a good foot right away. This one was purchased with an LLC, not my personal name up front. I'm not. So that was a cool thing too about this contract for deed. It wasn't in my personal name up front. Like if you get a normal mortgage, you typically, if you're buying a rental property, you'll get a mortgage in your personal name because like a mortgage company is not going to give a loan to your LLC for 30 years.
They might, depending on if you get a non-recourse loan, but that's a different
right. Yeah, but for the most part, it's hard.
For the most part, it's more a difficult process.
It's typically a non-QM loan.
Yes,
but yeah. So anyway, my LLC was able to be in a contract with this property. And then that LLC was owned by my holding company in Wyoming.
Sure.
And that Wyoming holding company is owned by my trust, and I'm the trustee.
Sure.
So there's multiple layers away when it comes to liability.
I love it.
But it was nice to be able to set this all up from the start legitly. We got a plan. Yeah. We know what we're doing. We're just holding it.
When do you plan on getting it rented?
Mid next month.
Mid next month. Okay.
Yeah, or this month, I guess. Is it July yet?
It's July 1st. It is. Hey.
Yeah. Not when you're listening to this. Yeah. It's like mid-August, I think.
Of 2027. We're not that far back now.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So this is great, Nick. Like, I think it's such a solid property to have.
Yeah.
Hayden. I mean, not everyone of our listeners, are from Idaho, but Hayden's a really beautiful area.
Yeah.
It's one of the best in North Idaho, I would say, actually.
Yeah, not many people go, ew, when you say Hayden. People are like, oh, tell me more.
Hayden Lake's pretty
they have
dang
a country
beautiful.
Club, don't they?
They do have a country club.
Not where this property is, but...
No, not that one.
It's close by.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, like what you're setting yourself up for there is you have a 30-year investment that's, guaranteed to cash flow at some point.
Yeah, at some point. I don't know if it's guaranteed to cash flow, and that's something that you got to be comfortable with your uncertainty investing. You can't have in your mind that this is guaranteed or anything, but what's likely to happen?
Sure.
If I took that money and put it in something else, wouldn't that be uncertain too?
Yeah.
What if I just put it all in Tesla stock?
That I would. Yeah. I mean, you do that too, but
yeah. So with Tesla, I have automatically like $45 a month, or $45 a week every Friday that goes into buying that, and that's my automatic. Set it and forget it. Yeah. I'm investing in stocks too.
That's my fun money. Yeah.
But yeah, I had this little chunk of money left over from some investments that paid out, and it was money that I needed to reinvest into real estate, and this one made sense for me.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's great. Obviously, like you were in a position to where if anything goes wrong in this property, you can handle this. This kind of deal isn't something I would recommend for people, and we've talked about stuff like this before too. But this isn't the deal I'd recommend if you A, don't have any experience, B, don't have any money. Like if that $20,000 would completely tap you, yeah, this deal's not for you.
Right, and it doesn't. I paid off all my credit cards first.
Good job. Wow.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All my credit cards, my line of credits, everything I paid off first before I got into a new investment. That was one of my goals too this year.
Awesome.
I wanted to make sure that I started off with a healthy reserve of credit lines.
Yes.
So I can take all my extra cash and just fucking dump it, because that's my strategy.
Okay. So
I opened up the Roth IRA and did these things. Made my $7,000 contribution to that. I like to get rid of my actual cash that I have by paying off credit cards first, because those are the highest interest rates. I like to still play the math game. You know what makes sense mathematically. Like I start with that first. Pay down these 27% interest rate credit cards, from these projects. But yeah, at the start of the year, I had, or not the start of the year, the end of the spring is when I kind of had my projects pay out finally.
Oh yeah, your big land one too.
The big land one, which we'll talk about in another episode. Finally got my mom's house done. Got some reimbursements for that.
Wow, did you get completely reimbursed?
No.
Okay.
No, my mom got $60,000 or so.
That's okay.
But she's my mom. She put more of that into me when I grew up, I guess. So repaying my mom. Lost money building my mom's house, and I'm comfortable with it. It's fine. My wife and I are both comfortable with it. My mom's the greatest, and she deserves it.
She's pretty damn great. She does
more.
definitely deserve it for sure.
It sucks that I lost money building my mom a house, but,
right? But if
at least I got some money.
House, your mom does. So.
Yeah, it was nice to get money back though.
Yeah,
for
sure.
That helped relieve, pay off some credit cards and that kind of stuff.
I think we've both came a very long way from our original thinking about how the world works and how debt works,
Yeah.
Like I said, like I'm so close to being consumer debt paid off, like all the money's in my account. I could do it today.
Yeah.
I have that money doing other things at the same time though. It's nice knowing that like I'm back in control.
Oh, doesn't that feel good?
It feels so good.
Yeah.
And that's part of like, investing through uncertainty is like, being in a position to be in control.
Yeah.
Because
taking accountability too.
Taking accountability, absolutely. Yeah. Like, it doesn't always have to be what's the next biggest deal, what's the next biggest thing. It could be like, oh, my debts are a little bit too high. That's what I need to focus on.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So but again, and we've talked this too, like I'm doing this and I'm paying off these debts so I can be a better investor.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. And we all get in a little bit bad debt here and there. Bad debt's great for helping with projects that go over budget. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Because then it turns into, it's good debt if you still end up profiting money.
Sure.
But that's my approach still, and it's always kind of I like having paid off credit lines as my reserves.
Yep.
And then just go ahead and spend the money I have. Now, you should definitely not take advice from me.
Right.
This is just what's always worked for me.
Right.
I like to max out my cash.
Right.
And invest it on a regular basis, heavier than most.
Sure. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Of course, partnering. You don't even need to bring cash to a deal if you bring somebody a good deal, or you just have a really good work ethic. Like, just go partner with people and go do the deals.
Yeah.
But investing with uncertainty, like, what kind of mindsets should people have, Nick, about like getting over their own mental hurdles?
Well, I think you should take a few steps back and just try to be certain about a few things.
I love that.
And here's what you can be certain of: you're going to die.
That's true.
You could be certain of that. You could be certain that we're not on the gold standard anymore, and inflation is a real thing, and it happens every year. You can be certain about taxes, that you're going to have taxes. Those are pretty much the only things that you can be absolutely certain of.
Yeah,
you're gonna have inflation. Because of the way the money system's set up. Right. You're gonna die. So live the best you can. Do estate planning.
Yeah.
Have good experiences out there. I'm not saying I'm not one of those people that like focuses on saving your money for a rainy day.
Yeah.
I lean towards like fucking spend it.
Right.
Like have a good day, but make sure that you have the skills and the resources to make more.
Right. And there's a fine line there, because I do truly believe that like every American should have $10,000 in a bank account.
Yeah. Why 10?
That's your staple. It should be really 6 months of reserves for whatever you make at your W-2 job. For me, that ended up coming out to like 18 grand or something like that. But it's you have the 10 in there, and I got to be honest with you, like I used my reserves for the first time ever, and it was so nice not to have a credit card as a crutch.
Oh yeah, did you have an emergency happen?
It wasn't quite an emergency, but my car needed new tires and new brakes, so I guess it was kind of an emergency. They're like, these brakes are fucked.
Unplanned expenses that happen.
They were like, these brakes are fucked. You've got probably 100 miles until your tires blow. And I'm like, how much is that going to cost?
Mechanics always say that.
Dude, they were bad. I brought it in knowing I'm like, I know these tires are bad. I want you to tell me how bad they are.
They rip their hair out and hand it to you. They're like, feel this hair? That's how stressed we are about your tires.
It's bad.
And there's other things we want to do to your car. Yep. Thanks for coming in.
Nope, I got new brakes, new brake pads, new tires. Anyway, it ended up being like $1,700. But the cool thing was, like, I was literally like, okay.
Got the money.
Yeah. Great. I'll transfer today. And I paid it, and I'm like, now I'll just rebuild that $1,700, which is pretty much already done.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like, you shouldn't just have your cash sitting parked, but you should definitely have something.
Yeah. Another thing to maybe be certain of too is that you will have unplanned budget, unplanned expenses.
Yes.
It's rare to have unplanned income, but unplanned expenses is so common.
Yeah.
And things are so much more expensive these days that I feel like, if you're so strict about your budget, or if you're doing the envelope system, this is how much money I have for this and this and this. You can spend so much time on that, but you're never going to be able to budget for the batteries that you need in your smoke alarms.
Right. Yeah.
There's always going to be more that you're going to have to spend. You're spending constantly, daily to keep up.
Yeah.
So you just got to, in my head, focus on building as much income as possible and not trying to put a limit on how much you can make.
Yeah.
Because there's no limit on how much you can spend.
That's true.
Like expenses just come as you walk through this earth. So
before this episode even started, I made Nick push a button on my Amazon to buy me $100 mouse for my computer.
Yeah. Now, was a computer mouse in your budget for the year?
It was in my business budget.
It was in your business budget? So you had it line item, need a mouse this year.
No, I didn't
Gonna
have
need
it.
a mouse 7 years from now, maybe 3 years. They
guess.
don't last very long,
So when I do it, I'm a C Corp and I need to be switched to an S Corp. But what I do, so when I make money, say I make $1,000, what happens is I take $500 of that, I take it, put it to my own personal checking account. I put $200 and I put it into the business tax savings, so roughly 20%, and then 10% of that goes into an expense account. So from that expense account is where I just buy that shit I need for my business.
Okay.
I bought a new computer, new camera, new lens. I just dropped like
Yeah, you've had
$5,500.
to upgrade a lot of your equipment this year.
That's okay. It's been good. But again, that reduces my tax liability,
Okay, sure.
right?
Yeah.
It's not a 1-to-1 ratio, of course.
Right.
So,
people get that confused. So
They
you
do
got to
get
be
that
careful.
confused,
I can just buy stuff because it's a tax write-off. It means you're going to save like 20%
Right.
on your tax bill, maybe.
25 is kind of what I imagine, but I imagine it's in the area. So hypothetically,
It's not a 1-for-1 ratio.
Say I buy a $2,000 camera lens, right? That's probably going to reduce my taxable income for the year about $400. So
Yeah,
I
good
saved
point.
about $400 of taxes.
Yeah, depending on the rest of your circumstances.
Right.
Because everybody's different. Everybody has different circumstances.
Right.
There's when it comes to taxes, it's it depends is all you have to always say.
Right. I put an asterisk every time I talk about this stuff, like, hey, this is what works for me. It may not work for you. I am obviously clearly not a financial planner or a CPA. I'm not giving you tax advice, so enjoy just our entertainment value here.
It's just we're just shitting. We're just shooting the shit here.
We're shooting the shit.
We're just shitting the shoot.
Shoot. I love it. But yeah, so uncertain times. I know we kind of been diverting a little bit back and forth, but I think like with mindset with uncertain times is being intentional on what you want.
Yeah.
Like being really, really aware of what actions you're taking and
Yeah.
what actions you're trying to bring in.
Yeah. And you got to like get a little dose of reality too. Like we're always in uncertain times.
Yeah.
Always. There are some great things that you can do though. Stop watching the news.
Yeah.
Stop watching debates. The presidential debates. That's something that, probably shouldn't have done.
I don't know why I did it.
I don't know why I did either.
I was putting my baby to bed.
I could only make it 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why am I watching this? This hurts my head.
I was putting my baby to bed, and I was originally going to finish watching Mad Max Fury Road on HBO, but it's
Yeah.
like debates live, and I'm like, all right, I'll see what that's all about.
Yeah. Ugh.
Anyway, Mad Max Fury Road, much better than the debate.
So
That's what I'm saying, though. Like have a plan, be intentional, and execute your plan, because we've all been, diverted left and right, front and back with things that come our way, things, unplanned expenses. Try to stay the course. Try to be really intentional about I'm paying off debt or I'm buying a house. If you're doing that, the actions that you're leading up to are going to say if you're actually, putting your money where your mouth is, literally.
true that. So what else have you been considering doing in uncertain times?
In uncertain times, what else I've been considering doing is, I know you don't really diversify with your stock portfolio,
Not a whole lot.
but I do think it's important to diversify.
Yeah, I might someday.
And I'm not talking about just with your stock portfolio, because you diversify in a lot of different ways. You've got real estate, you've got businesses. Just the one thing you do in stock is Tesla. But for the average person listening, like, maybe you want to put a couple eggs in a couple different baskets.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. It's because I felt like I had a little bit of an edge when I first bought my Tesla back in 2016.
Yeah.
Because I got to experience what that car was like. And I got to experience what all the other cars I've had in the past were like. And I got to experience what that car cost me.
Yeah.
And how undervalued I felt like the stock was. And I just didn't have a good understanding of all the other companies I could invest in.
Sure.
Like I don't really know what Delta, how they run their books, or like what their plans are. The reason why I geek out and like to invest in Tesla stock is because I feel not totally certain, but more certain about that stock than anything else.
Okay.
Because I haven't done my research with anything else, but I've done a lot of heavy research. I've been on the investor calls. I kind of know what Tesla's plans are.
Sure.
And I feel like that they do have an edge when it comes to electric vehicles, and the US is pushing in general for this entire industry to convert to electric, and they are leading the path, and they're at least a couple years ahead still.
I agree with you.
Of all their competition. So for now, I'd like to stay in that stock.
Sure.
For at least, another few years or so, until things start to even out, and then all the other car companies kind of have similar products at similar price points. But for now, they just don't. And that's why I feel like no matter how much that stock goes up and down, I just like to, anytime it's down 30 or more percent, that's when I like to buy. That's when I like to spend more than my weekly allowance, and I'll put in an extra, 1,000 or two.
Yeah, I think.
And then whenever it's up, I still don't typically sell it, but I have in the past, and I've regretted it.
Right. I've learned that I like to. I don't ever really sell the stocks that I buy anymore, because if I buy them low enough and I'm like, well, I mean, the best thing that can happen is if I sell it at a loss, is it offsets other gains I get. But if I'm not selling and I'm just holding anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I was listening to Matt Sorensen and Mark Kohler the other day, and they were talking about, taxable income for Jeff Bezos. And they were saying, like he paid, and I'm gonna biff the numbers here, but they were saying, people are mad because he was only paying a 1% effective tax rate on his wealth. And the reason is because like it's you don't tax wealth. You get taxed on income.
Yeah, because he's not like he's just worth something.
Right. So
there's no actual income. Like he's not selling his. If he was selling his stock in his company,
he gets taxed like a motherfucker.
That's how Elon Musk paid $12 billion or whatever, because he decided to sell a bunch of stock to make a statement like, "Look, I can pay the most taxes in history."
Right.
And he did that. But you don't get taxed on your net worth.
Right.
Nobody would want that.
Right.
If somebody's very cash poor, but they own a house that's worth 300 grand, maybe it's worth 500 grand and they owe 100,000 on it. Can you imagine if the IRS said, "Hey, pay us on your 400 grand that you own, or that you your equity on that house, pay us those taxes." Where am I going to come up with that? Do I got to sell the house?
Right. It's just I don't have that kind of money.
It's not income.
Right.
It's just, it's just worth. This is what I'm currently worth, and it can go up and down. And that's why the IRS, hopefully they never do, but they might, they don't tax people on their net worth.
I don't think that's a feasible solution for it. But honestly, like if they were to do that, they would also have to tax people or give people credits when it went down. So say your house is worth, 300, and then the next year it's worth 200 because something happens in the economy or whatever. Are they going to send you a check for the amount that you lost?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me.
It would have to go both ways.
It's just not the way income and expenses work.
Right.
But like, income and loss.
Right. And that's what I'm saying.
Profit and loss.
If he was taxed on his taxed on his actual income, and it was, 1% of his total net worth or whatever like that. And that's how the rich remain rich, is because they understand the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And they could take debt out, if they want to make, spend money, they take debt out, and that's how they get it tax free.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
That's how you can, use the system
right
to grow the economy. And anytime you're taking out debt, you're technically kind of growing the economy.
Right. You're taking out a loan and your loan is not taxed.
Right. Because debt is not taxed.
Right. And I think there's something there yet. The reason why I was talking about it is obviously you were talking about your Tesla stock. And in my head, like, you know, I do this. This isn't exactly what I do to get rid of investing in uncertain times. This is investing in the stock market is just something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And all the money I put in is money I'm comfortable losing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. So all the money I've ever put in, if all accounts went to zero, I'm like, well, that's the stock market.
Yeah, because when you invest in a stock, you have no control over what that company does.
Right.
Technically.
Unless you're an owner.
You know, unless you're an owner and you're a big shareholder and you can like help make decisions.
Right.
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
In most scenarios. But that's it. It is like a gamble.
Yeah.
For sure. But like, and there's never any certainty in it.
Right. There's never certainty in it.
I remember speaking about uncertainty, just the word really kind of rings home to me because this was maybe 3 years ago or so, before things got too crazy. I remember telling my hard money lender that I was certain about a certain thing. You know, this house that I was flipping or whatever it was. I was certain that it was going to sell for at least this. And he's like, whoa, buddy. Yeah. he's like, hey. If you ever wake up one day and you're absolutely certain about something, please give me a call because because you can never be certain about anything. And he was totally right. But and I'm butchering the analogy and I'm paraphrasing here, but
I can hear Thomas saying that.
Yeah, it was Thomas.
Okay,
yeah,
that sounds like a Thomasism.
If you ever wake up and you're certain about something, give me a call because I can use that in the stock market and all that stuff. He's like, you can never be, you can never be too sure about anything. Right. That things can change on a dime. And I remember it was maybe less than a year later, everything started to change when people were the most certain that it wouldn't. Right. Because, there was such little inventory here and everything was so rampant. There was so much demand. Right. And then things changed almost overnight when the feds decided, okay, enough's enough, jack up the interest rates like crazy. And then everything just came to a standstill.
And that's a good point, Nick. Like, you can really never be certain about anything unless it's the things you talked about, death and taxes. Those are the only certainties really in life. But anything can happen. Just remember when COVID happened and like how many people that displaced on a job and like how it really like sent a haymaker to the economy. Yeah. Right? Like nobody could have guessed that would have happened.
Yeah. Except for the people that planned it.
Except for the people that
Pandemic.
Pandemic. I don't know enough about it to say that, Nick.
I know you were a part of the conspiracy.
You like to make very bold accusations, and I love you on that. I remember being in the gym, though. I was with you at the gym. Yeah. And this is the first time we heard about when COVID hit the United States. Do you remember?
Really? No, tell me.
Tom Hanks. Okay. Came on the news at the gym as like Tom Hanks has COVID. Okay. And the entire like everyone on Facebook was like, "Oh my God, Tom Hanks is gonna die."
Everyone thought he was gonna die. I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was the first thing I remember being at the gym.
And then he was just like, "No, I'm just tired.
Tired man.
I'm just a tired boy.
They locked me in a room and I'm tired and lonely." But what a shock to the economy and what a shock to the world, right? Like
Tom Hanks will do that to you.
Tom Hanks has that effect, ladies and gentlemen.
You ever seen Forrest Gump?
More than you have.
I doubt that.
Okay, I read the book more than you have. I've read the book twice.
I didn't know it was a book, so you did.
Came from the movie came from the book.
What's your favorite Tom Hanks movie? Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, that's a good one. I got a joke for you. Knock, knock.
Knock. That's a good one.
Favorite Tom Hanks movie?
Ooh.
Might be Catch Me If You Can.
Okay. Man. He's so many good ones. Castaway?
Castaway's very good.
Well said.
That was a little overrated.
No, not to me. I loved it.
A little overrated, but pretty good.
Was it overrated? How many people overrated it?
Me.
Oh, okay.
They're just, yeah. It was good. It was
Saving Private Ryan?
Also very good.
Yeah. The teacher could handle a gun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Toy Story, that's good.
His voice was perfect.
That's acting. ladies and gentlemen.
I think we're starting to lose our audience.
I don't think we're losing anybody. We got Tom Hanks discussing.
People are out there screaming some movie that that he was in. Like, why aren't you saying this? Splash! It's Splash! That's the best one!
Turner and Hooch, get fucked if you think otherwise.
Oh, that was a poor one.
That was pretty bad.
Money Pit! So many good ones. Why aren't you speaking about Money Pit? It's a real estate show!
All right, let's bring this thing home, though. So, investing on uncertain times, like, again, in my head, my advice is just have a game plan and stick with it and be very intentional about what your actions are. And again, the only certainties are death and taxes. Now, you can put yourself in more certain situations than others, like if you are preparing for uncertainness and you're just worried about everything, put money in your account. Just live off bank money. But I
like
don't think
high yield because they're paying 5%.
you could do that. But I'm saying, like, if you are so uncertain, don't even put your money in a bank. I guess take your money and put it under your mattress. But even then, your house could catch on fire. And look at that.
Man, don't take advice from Jeremy.
No, that's okay. Like, whatever, plan for your contingencies.
Yeah.
For whatever happens in your life. And I think that's the best way to navigate through uncertainty.
Yeah. My advice would just simply be to start getting certain about some little things and play on those.
Yeah.
What can you be certain of? Can you be certain that if you don't invest now that you won't have a great deal in 30 years?
It's true.
10 years from now? Can you be certain of that? There's a lot of great excuses you can make for yourselves out there to not invest.
Yeah.
And there's an unlimited amount.
Yeah.
But only you are going to get in your way.
I love that. And just one final note, just kind of to piggyback off what you said, like every action you do is like a chain reaction into another thing, right? Mm-hmm. So, buying this house right now could set you up for 10 years to buy 5 more. Or not buying this house right now could make it so you don't have that capability. Just find out what you want to do and really, get certain about a couple things like Nick said. So,
yep.
Before we go, I want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you so much for listening or watching the show. If we missed any Tom Hanks movies, Tom Cruise is a different subject, but if we missed any Tom Hanks movies...
He runs in every movie really fast.
He runs very fast. The guy's a fast man.
Every movie. Mm-hmm. He's running. Love it, love it, love it.
If there's any Tom Hanks movies that you think we missed because, he's done 5 or 6 in his lifetime, let us know in the comments.
Let us know your favorite top 2 Tom Hanks movies. I'll give you 2.
I want your top 17
Samuel L. Jackson movies because there's 17 of them.
There's 17 per year Samuel L. Jackson movies, but no. Yes, let us know in the comments if you like the episode. Let us know your favorite Tom Hanks movie, and also while you're in the comments, sprinkle your little body over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a little zesty review. Maybe even talk about Tom Hanks because that's good content.
Love Tom Hanks.
I do too.
Yeah, he's getting old.
Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and watching the Investor Shed podcast. We love and appreciate you. We will see you next week with more investing advice.
And if you don't want to see us next week, if you want to see us right away, check out our previous episodes.
Do that.
Yeah, love you. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out the Investor Shed podcast. If you enjoyed your time, make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow along on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at The Investor Shed for shorts and promos about each episode. Do you want to be a guest or know someone who has great real estate investing advice and stories? Reach out to us at theinvestorshed@gmail.com.